Hi all, welcome to this kind of Sorare kind of progress video. If you've kept up with Twitter on this, basically what I did like yesterday was kind of talk about the kind of like the progress that we've had over the 3 seasons. This is obviously now going into our third season of Sorare. First season was just really doing commons, second season was getting started into limiteds, getting comfortable, and now the third season is where we really do have a bit more of a shape, a bit more identity of what we have in our structure, and obviously the hope this season is to be kind of like competitive and consistent throughout the season more often, even though we were, especially in the second half of the season, starting to really show a good bit of form, but we would like to be more consistent on a weekly basis, and we'd hopefully move into rares at some point. Like, here's hoping, but we will still scout around for rares just in case budget allows, or if kickoff, if we've still got like a lot of players doing nothing and we're able to field a team into like kickoff rare, then I'd maybe try and make it happen. So at the moment, as you can see, we have 96 cards. We've done a bit of cleaning. Basically we went through Satonio, and basically we're like, right, we need some EFL players, what have you got? And we've got a handful of him and just some individual buying as well. Sporger Signs was one of the main players I would quite like, because he was under 23, he was in EFL, and he was kind of like a mid, like a lot of his stats just stood out for me, and I thought, and like Borgia Signs I've kept in progress an eye on anyway with Giroud simply because I had Kaplan for a short stint as well last season in net, so I knew what Borgia Signs brought to the table because I was watching Giroud games. Handy when you've got these cards, like certain cards, especially when you've got, say, like a goalkeeper for example, you do like to have a watch of how teams are doing. So as you can see at the moment we have only one Eredivisie. Who have we actually got? Eloy Room, sorry, I had to think there. I was like, the one, because obviously he's now at Vitesse. We have 6 championship players in Vakun Bayo, Ross McCrory, Dimitrios Gutas, Borja Signs, Ryan Leonard, and Liam Kelly. I'm aiming for one more forward, one more defender, and then goalie wise is going to be the interesting debate. I'm going to really have a right hard look at kind of the teams that are in the championship and who has a goalie at the moment. Look at the pre-seasons. Like, Angus Gunn's the only one realistically I think that we'll end up with, but we will go from there. It's also important to note as well, folks, my Eredivisie, I was going to say, we sold that off to one of my mates, Stefano. He's obviously going to spend, this season was going to be, he's like me, like first season was getting used to it, the second season is now where he's feels a bit more confident and wants to give it a right good go. So I was like, Eredivisie, you're kind of like 40, and the players I had, some of them were consistent and I'm happy with them, and I was like, I don't mind selling them because one, it boosts up my funds, but also I can focus on the competitions I have, not necessarily a better interest in, but it's just to have a bit more variance. The funds really from selling Steph and Eredivisie just funded Championship. It was midweek utility is what I was looking at. J League, we obviously have 31 cards and all. We have a lot of depth and a lot of variety. We have Avispa's collection predominantly. We also run Consadole as well. We have done a bit of tidying up. We got rid of a number of players over the last week or so, simply just through suspensions, bad form, injuries, just tidying up really. Just players that, like, even when we were using them, they weren't performing a little bit, which was a bit of a shame. But I suppose it was also what certain teams that we had them in, like Koke Anzi we got rid of just because of the red card, and price was going to crash sooner or later, so I was like, take advantage while the price was still high. Like, we still have like a couple of the Kyoto Sanga players as well in Ota and Toyokawa. like Toyokawa's steady, Otta's been steady. Like the thing with Otta especially is I still think he could remain goalie, even once their other goalie comes back. I'll actually go and double check what who the other goalie is off the top of my head. Wakahara. I kept getting it wrong. Like I was seeing Tomio and I was like Tomiya. I was like, what's his name again? What's his name? But like he was steady, but he's not great. Like I might even buy him as well, because he's not expensive. But I think it's like September he would come back, so I'll keep an eye on his price. And the way I look at it, like he's a low cap, so and I wouldn't feel stressed. And if you've got both, it's like a Vispa. At least you know then with both Kyoto Sanga goalies on what to expect. And like the thing is as well, he scored 60 in my game week that he did well, so I was quite like happy. I think that was a week that he won me a reward as well. So, but a Vispa, as I said, we have everyone that is part of the club. So we also added some of the 23 players in Wellington and Ryoga Sato. Like we didn't stress about it, mainly because the person that had the free wasn't Ryoga auction? Yeah. I was about to say for a sec there, I thought Ryoga was auction because I kept trying to get him, like, and at the time when we got him, that was like the cheapest, and I was like, and by some margin it was nearly like 70p I think at the time cheaper, because people were trying to list for like say £2 and think, oh, we're going to get a sale. It's like, no, you're not. And Idaguchi also finishes off the 23 side of it. But yeah, we're quite happy how the Vispa players have performed this season. Growley we slipped up with in the last game week, as well, a couple game weeks ago, 389. But J League, as I said, we're happy with. K League we only have one, that is our reward in League KJ. I've got to be concerned because if Suwon were to go down, then we're losing on some good money here. Like he is a new card, we're owned for obviously, and then 90 days we're at 57 we've had him for, but we will keep an eye, and like, he's been steady for me. I can't fault him. It's just I'd quite like to see Suwon stay up. That's all I'm hoping for. Smart Bank, we have 24 players. I'm just breaking it down league by league, and we still have the Blasis, who has been transferred to Argentina, and the interesting thing is his price is slowly crept back up. Like if he does get, he should get game time for Gymnasia, but I'm intrigued that they've still not said it Gymnasia, because it was like last week or something the transfer went through, I believe. But hey ho, what do I know? As far as I believe, Yana is being the main goalie that we will run into the division. Got him on a great swap. There was a player had him up for like 15 quid, but we done a bit of swapping with another player who offered me Ian Matson, and I was like, I don't care about Ian Matson, and this player had Janez, and I said, I'll give you Matson and I'll give you a couple. I initially gave like 250 or something, and he was like a fiver, and I was like, I think we can work this down, and we got it down to like just over 3 quid. It was like 320 or something, because it was like I was at 3, he was at 350, and I said, well, let's meet in the middle, and we got the deal over the line. And Yanez should be number 1 comfortably for the season. Tenerife, we've got to be a little wary, and like Tomu Nadal is number 2 at Tenerife. There is a chance he could be number 1 as well, so we will see how that plays out. But Tenerife, we have literally everyone that's part of the club still now. Like the only players that really were missing is like Mododa, Alisson, and kind of just like reserve players nearly, as it were, but or at least squad players. But at the same time, we're basically 10 points off the 3%, so I'm happy with that. Albacete, we still have a mix there. Important to note that like Michael Meza's Zaragoza, for example, who should score well. He was very impressive last season, like 10 assists I think it was, or 8 goals, sorry, 3 assists. I always get the order mixed up, don't know why, but he had 2 red cards. That's the only concern for those that were Michael Meza owners, but we've had him for just over 2 months now, and because when we got him from Rov, that was when we did like a bulk buy, and at the time the 5 players, that was literally, it felt like stealing. Like even now if you were to look at all their prices, it's not bad. So like Levante we got out of just because of their financial situation, but also just with them not going up. I think I would have kept Levante players if they had went up, but it is what it is. Juan Otero will be another alternative forward within the division. I'm actually excited with him, simply because he ended the season well in that last month of the season, and I'm hoping that he can do the business, and especially when he's been creeping up over the £3 mark. And when we got him from Alex, I think it was like 140, yeah, it was like 147, because we got Quinny and Otero. Quinny was just a straight swap, quick sale, but Ezqueta is the alternative goalie in the division. We're not 100% sure if he will be a starter, but him and Pereira, I might easily just go and buy a Pereira. The only problem is a little bit steep, but people are willing to pay good money for Ezqueta, so I do have a bit of faith on trying my luck for him. And then especially in the games that he played, I'll actually be honest, for the 5 actual games he played, he was a big reason why Racing Santander, like the game against Cartagena, sorry, was the only one he didn't play, because I think they were trying to say Santander wanted to keep Pereira like on side, but like Abifa, Granada, Mirandes, Ibar and Oviedo, definitely a varied 5 to play against. I would say 4 of those teams are definitely hard, and like they got results. The Ibar game especially was classing. Like he kept a clean sheet, made like 3 good saves that game, but it's what made the difference. It makes the difference for people, and as I say, we're happy with the rest of the division. We have depth with Nacho, Enric, Waldo, Alex Corredera. I'm expecting good things from this season, as long as he stays fit, and Melo in defence. So like our second division side of the squad is very strong, and I genuinely think this could be a very competitive team for next season. MLS, we're delighted with how that's just generally been. We've tweaked here and there when needed. Like for us, like Hade might be fit after the break. I'll actually double check where his progress report is. Quignon steady. Finley's really finding form lately. Scored 72 again last night. Fun game. Won the penalty, which was scored, so that does make the difference, because if they hadn't scored it I would have not scored well. But Ethan Finley, yeah, he's really found form the last month or so. Like I love how it's 45 days was obviously when it was last not listed, because we did try and sell him a while back. Like we've owned him for 6 months, but yeah, he's steady, and he has been one of these players that has crept a little bit in value. Boxall, going a bit flat lately. It's a bit of a shame really, because as much as he is a servant of the club, yeah, he's went a bit weak last game, like against LAFC. But Casper, like steady, like got me a important goal last week for MLS Pro, so I can't thank him enough for that. McMath, Zuparik, all steady in their own rights. Bedoya's just steady, doesn't really bring as much to the table just now. I'm aware of that because of age. Polster's the last game week, like he's been funny lately, which is a bit baffling. Like he has, like as I said, he was our first owner. Like we hampered our own collection with him simply because he was owned First owner, like we loaned him out to one of our to Stefano just because he needed like help with getting MLS related, so I wasn't fussed. Helps him out. Herbers has crept back up again in value. He's been steady over the last month, so I can't really fault that. Rudy Camacho's been another steady addition. Sean Davis, Maxine Chano. How is Maxine's price just now? He's all over the place, so that's fine. Tyler Boyd's been steady. He wasn't great last game week, but he's been steady enough, so I can't fault it. Been handy when we need him. Brandon By, another steady. Now that I get the feeling he's fully fit again. In the last 3 games, these are the averages I'm expecting. He's say 50-60 point games because he can deliver them. That's what I kind of expect. And John Gallagher was our MLS Pro reward. Yes, he wasn't great last night, but I'm not disheartened. Somebody actually did try and buy him off me, and I was just not. I was like, nah, I'm not even interested, bud. So, because the way I look at it, it allows us to be sorted for like midweek utility if MLS is playing. That's where I want to look at it. Obviously, Premier League we have one player, which is quite funny because it's William Fish, because he's not. The loan we're hoping gets sorted by next week. That was what was touted. Even though he's in, he was in Edinburgh, I think, till like Thursday or Friday. Hibs, obviously we have 12 players at the moment. In terms of what else we're missing from a Hibs perspective, we would like to get a Cadden and Doyle Hayes on the cheap. We have missed out on multiple occasions. We would like to also wrap up a Levitt at some point as well, and obviously the players that we're kind of missing really will be like the 2023 players that the Hibs get given, whether that be like Del Friere, Rudy Molotnikov, like Wallacott, whoever else, like literally just tie up the rest of the Hibs squad. So if it means we're over 20 odd players, then so be it. But hopefully by then we've got a bit of a chance with depth in the squad, even more depth. Like, obviously I'm suspecting as well for Hibs, like if Doig stays, that he'll get a 23, 24 Hibs card. So and that's just all we'll end up doing, is just try to ensure that we have every area covered for Hibs, like from like starting 11 to the sub players and whatnot, just to boost that collection up. Super League, obviously we only have the one in Dubison, who is in the Swiss League. He actually plays like this weekend, so that does help immensely. We got him in auction for £3 a while back. I love how somebody paid £9 yesterday for him. Obviously we're not at 90 days yet. We'll hopefully we'll get that wrapped up soon. We don't aim to sell him. We've got a year of under 23 utility with him as well, which should be really helpful. And if we can see these kind of numbers, I genuinely think he could be a 60 point player a game personally. I'm not sure how his form will translate from Spanish second division to the Swiss League, but I feel he's got the ability to achieve something decent, as it were. So as I say, we've got 96 players in all, and Nadal will obviously get given. That will change in due course. I love how it just still says like this player's in a team not covered by SO5. Like Chomu Nadal is at Tenerife. Like it says a free agent, but he is obviously at like if I look at any of the other sales, like we've got him at the cheapest. Like I missed trying to nab him like before the transfer, because I was like it would just be handy, but at the same time I wasn't stressing out. I don't think there is anyone else we've missed. Like Eloy's going to be handy for during all our respective goalkeepers. I'll just quickly run through in case there was anyone we missed. I don't think so. Nah. Right, so basically our area of focus now is, as I said, one last goalie for EFL stuff, because at the moment we think that between Murakami and Nagaishi, one will be our, say, Asia or 240 goalie, because we will obviously adjust depending on game weeks. McMath likely to be Champion America, depending if Ezqueta is starting for Santander. He will either go in 270 All-Star for him. Marshall will be Challenger Europe, or potentially Eloy will probably go in either a capped game mode, we would suspect. Same with Otta. Yanez most likely second division, and then depending what happens with Nadal, if he's a starter or whatnot, he might end up in like All-Star or whatever. But we will see how it all plays out. As I said, I'm going to review like every competition and make sure that everyone has a, like, if we've got every game mode like covered from like, if I can get up, did I get upcoming? Yeah. So like All-Star, 220, 240, 270, Challenger Europe. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goalies that we've got to account for. Asia would be 8. Under 23 we had Moser, but we sold him as part of the swap from Matson. And I personally feel under 23 wise we're going to struggle to actually get a starting goalie. So under 23 squad may be the one competition we legitimately struggle with. I might have to do a bit more analysis and work on who realistically can take a spot in net for under 23. But kickoff rare, I think we may end up field a team in that just to see if we can make it happen. Because if I was to actually look at the price, I rarely look at the price pool actually for this. So basically 12, we've got to finish in the top 12, which is hard enough in its own right. But I feel like we would have a team that could compete in kickoff rare. Like if I was to look at the competition, like just rough matches for this game week, MLS League Cup. It's just for an idea, just so I know what I'm roughly. Yeah, so it's like the Conference League. So we would have whoever else it's basically not got, whoever's not got used, like kickoff rare is going to be what we'd probably do. So I'd have to have a look at what rares are in budget. So realistically, all we're missing is EFL utility, a rare, and another under 23 goalie we would suspect, and then from there it allows us to be able to field and everything. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Asia would be 7. That would be 8. Kickoff rare would be 9. And then academy could happen throughout as well, to ensure that we have at least players within this. It's just a case of maybe starting goalies and maybe scout around who's in that kind of like cheap starter bracket that might just fill in the gaps, because like the balance just now for our ETH is a little bit low, but next week we should have a little spike up because of the coin-based quests, so that should help replenish our funds a little bit, and it'll allow us to plan out what we kind of need competition wise really. So that way we're able to just say, right, this is what we have, this is what we need, and we're able to compete in, like, not necessarily for 392, but when it comes to the actual official start of like the European season, when you have Europe and Asia on top. But obviously because 393 is Bundesliga 2, 395 is obviously back to J League, so we have like, it's getting not necessarily exciting, but it's good that like we've been so prepared, we've been organised. Like, I'm not fussed about like the second Bundesliga because I'm not someone that is stressing for it. Like, I know the second division quite well for Bundesliga because I do follow it. but I'm not stressing out building more teams for the sake of it, because I don't want to have a bloated gallery. I'd quite like to just have enough so I know that I'm like, oh, I've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, Asia makes 60, so I'd have like 60 limiteds near enough every week with a use. And if with the new competitions that are coming as well, 60 might push to 70. So then I've got near enough, like say out of 100 limiteds, I've got about 70% of my gallery every game week at least getting used. And the only players not getting used are ones that we just can't fit in. Because it is kind of handy to say, if I was to look at an extra team for Academy, let me have a look at actual cost. So if we wanted to, we'd be able to buy 2 expansions. I'm not going to even, I don't see the point, mainly because I don't have the goalies to justify it, so I don't see the point. And also we'll have the drafts for the other top 5 leagues as well, so we've got that to look forward to. So we'll have 6 drafts throughout the first, like say, half of the season. But yeah, I'm generally feel like I'm like organised, like, and it's also important to say, like, if results go our way and whatnot, then we may consider academy boosts, but I'm not really stressing for it. I'd rather just keep building up my coins and just see how things go from there. So let me know, folks, like how you're feeling for the season ahead, and as I said, let me know your thoughts on what you think my gallery and kind of prep is really. Because obviously for this game week, just to quickly touch on it, it's not been a great scoring game week because of Quignon and John Gallagher, but sadly that's the way it is. And at the same time we were kind of stretched because we only actually could field like one proper team, and now that I look at it, I kind of wish I'd went more serious with 240, put Bayern, Van, Quignon, but it is what it is. I was thinking that I could have maybe got away with that for a 220, when in reality I should have just said let's focus on this, because that can still get 250 if Dubison really was to pop off, and McMath's got the capability to get like 60-70 points anyway. The two of them between them generally have a chance at 125, so I'm not exactly too worried. It's just I need luck my way. But all in all, folks, we see how it all shapes up in due course. So have a good one, folks. Take it easy all. Thanks for listening. Have a good one, and I will speak to you all later.